What's up, my good people? This your guy Ike Jones, and I am in here pregame Auburn versus Alabama A&M. Auburn's men's basketball team is headed back into competition versus the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. It's time to talk about it, man. Hopefully, everybody is having a good Tuesday, and we're ready to get in here and talk a little basketball. Auburn favored by 33.5 points tonight. Game's supposed to be tipping off at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right there in Neville Arena. Um, just getting here to talk about it. Hopefully everybody, again, is having a good Tuesday night. Um, Game's supposed to be coming on ESPN Plus, so if you don't have the app, then you won't be able to watch this one, unfortunately, unless you have some other means of watching it. But ESPN Plus, SEC Plus is where this game is going to be. So you have to be on the app again to be able to watch the game tonight. Not one that Auburn is supposed to be having any trouble in. Hopefully everybody just gets through this competition tonight without any major injuries or anything crazy happening. Auburn coming fresh off of the 2 games played up in New York where they took the victory home. Notre Dame, St. Bonaventure's, both of those games well in hand for Auburn. Shot the ball well, defended well, still got to work on not fouling so much, still got to work on trying to be a little bit more protective of the basketball and not turning the ball over in silly ways throughout the game. But overall, solid games for both of the games up there in New York. But anyway, thoughts about this game for me. This Alabama A&M team so far this season has not won a game yet. They're giving up 94 points per game, almost 95 points per game in the first 2 competitions that they've had so far this season. Auburn should not have an issue scoring the basketball tonight. They are averaging 74 points per game. I'd love to see Auburn get a team sub 60, right? Really shutting down their ability to score unless you're going to score over 100, right? Like if you're not going to put up over 100, then I don't want to see this team really score over 70 against them tonight. So, yeah, again, favored by 33.5 in this game. Should not be some sort of huge contest throughout this one, unless Auburn is being silly, going out there getting in foul trouble or anything like that. Leading scorer for Alabama A&M is, make sure I have his name pronounced correctly here. Where did my sheet go? Dalen Smith, 6'6" guard, 6'6", 185, senior there for Alabama A&M. So this is a guy who I would expect early Denver Jones probably, or SEMO going to get tasked with. Auburn does a lot of switching out top, so you're not going to get a ton of one-on-one matchups with the switches that are happening. But it's going to be a thing where Auburn's going to have to pay attention to the bigger guard out there shooting. He's only averaging 16 points per game, but still that counts, right? Averaging 22 minutes per game, 4.5 boards. 3-point shooting, though, he is shooting at 40% so far this season. So it is something where I expect him to take a pretty good volume of threes in this game. Auburn has done a really good job so far this season of having people shoot a low percentage from 3. But this is a game where I expect if you're going to be Alabama A&M, you're going to try to, amp up your scoring in some sort of way. So that's a guy that I would look out for. He's the leading scorer, so it's not going to be a big surprise, but it is somebody who I expect to shoot a high volume of shots tonight. Hopefully we're able to keep him under wraps. Outside of that, second leading scorer on this team is only scoring 9 points per game. That's Dylan McClain, another guard there for Alabama A&M, 6'4", 194. So some bigger guards playing for this team. So looking to see the dividends of having a guy like Denver Jones, having the bigger guards that we have on this team now this year, as opposed to previous years where we had a bunch of guys that were, 6'1" and below playing at the starting guard positions, to be able to step up and play some good perimeter defense. Defensively, I think that Texas A&M is going to attempt to slow the tempo down, something that I mentioned with the game versus Notre Dame. They're not going to want to get into an up and down pace because they don't have, I don't think, the depth to be able to do that. They are going to play probably about 7 or 8 deep. But once they get to their bench, it's going to be difficult for them to be able to compete athletically with Auburn. So they're going to want to slow the pace down, get the number of possessions down. So it's going to be incumbent on Auburn to really force turnovers. Alabama A&M is averaging 17 turnovers per game right now through those first two contests. So I'm looking for upwards of 20 to 25 turnovers being generated this game for Auburn. Let's see here. But anyway, let's get into what you guys are talking about tonight. Ken, I don't really like getting in here. I know it's just me, but I don't really want to just talk all night by myself. I want to see what you guys are saying. So let's get Leanne jumping in here, who says, asking, are we going to score 100 tonight? Be a nice game to be able to get up over the century mark. I'm expecting somewhere around 93 points tonight. Honestly, 93 to 60 something is probably where I would land. Auburn has been scoring in the 80 range for most games, but I think tonight they can get an opportunity to push that up into the 90 range. I don't know about 100, but it's where I would expect it to land. Richard Winsland says War Damn Eagle could use a pick me up win tonight, guys. Listen, this isn't a game that Auburn should struggle in, but it should be a good win for the guys. Look forward to seeing them go ahead and just go out there and handle business. Wesley Hilson says time to start the week right. Absolutely. Go ahead and get this dub out the way. And get the Auburn athletics team off to a good start in the week. Unfortunately, the Auburn women's basketball team went down last night versus UCF. Hard-fought victory for UCF to come out of there with. Auburn started slow in that game, ended up closing pretty well, but just in the end didn't have enough left in the tank to be able to secure that victory. So hopefully the women can get back. They actually play Alabama A&M's women's squad this coming Sunday. So if you guys are in town for the Iron Bowl and want to stick around for an additional day, you can support the women's basketball team that next afternoon versus Alabama A&M there as well. Not on the subject of basketball, but the volleyball team had a dub earlier this week. Was out. I can't remember where that was yesterday or not, but they got a win earlier this week. But yeah, definitely will be good to see the basketball team go ahead and get a victory this week. Wesley jumps back in and says, want to see some improvement in chemistry and Chaney Johnson show some more confidence on the O. I liked what I saw from Chaney Johnson in this last game versus St. Bonaventures. He is starting to find his footing when it comes to the medium range stuff in the lane. So a lot of the stuff that we've seen traditionally Jay Will Janai do specifically against the zone, flashing high post, turnaround, being able to hit the 10, somewhere 10 and in shot in the lane is a place where he's become more comfortable, and something that he did pretty frequently when he was playing up at in his previous school at UAH. So hopefully that's something they'll continue to do. I have not watched any Alabama A&M games, so I'm not sure how much zone they play, but if they do go to zone, then I would expect Jay Will and Chaney to be the guys to attack the middle of that zone. Hopefully Chaney Johnson in some extended minutes tonight, because we're going to go to the reserves a little bit earlier. Hopefully, as you get into a contest that gets out of hand, he'll get some additional minutes in there and be able to get more comfortable, particularly since he should be playing against a caliber of opponent that's more similar to the, no disrespect again to Texas A&M, to the Alabama A&M group, but they are more similar athletically to guys that he's played against at his previous school. So maybe he'll be a little bit more comfortable tonight, being able to do that, particularly if he's going to play heavier minutes in the latter portions of the game. Maybe we can see our first double-digit contest for Chaney Johnson tonight. Michael Carlisle says, let's see Chaney and Denver get loose tonight. Would love to see it. Denver Jones, a guy who has been dealing with some stuff, and hopefully this game will be a good breakout game for him. Particularly, I want to see him be able to get the three-point shot on track. If he can start to be a more consistent scorer, for this team, I think he kind of just unlocks a whole different level, because he can get into the ISO game a little bit better as far as being a three-level scorer. We just don't really have a lot of guys who can do that. Trey Donaldson, not a three-level scorer. You get into that a little bit with KD, but he's still kind of working on getting to the mid-range stuff and not having to go three or layup. Denver is a guy who can be a three-level guy for you. and an ISO 3 level guy, or pick and roll, because Bruce Pearl rarely puts guys in ISO scenarios, but um, pick and roll 3 level guy, so he can just go get his own shot and rise up over most people because of the height that he has. But I'd love to see Denver Jones take an opportunity to really find his footing within this offense during this game. That's definitely something that I'll be watching for early in the game. Ethan Lowry jumps in and says, yeah, seems like the game hasn't slowed down for Chaney, but he definitely has the athleticism. Definitely agree with that statement. The athleticism is obviously there. He shows that on the defensive end. He shows that in his rebounding. But yet to see it on the offensive end, really, as far as just his ability to process and just kind of listen. I watched a bunch of his games, just kind of scouting what he had going on, and I saw the ability of him to put the ball on the floor. I saw the ability for him to get all the way to the basket and make, but he just hadn't shown that really much in these games thus far. And a lot of that is just about kind of letting it slow down, like Ethan just said, just not allowing the game to be sped up for him, and he's just able to just get back to hooping, man. Just go hoop and play with your feet underneath you. He hasn't really found that yet in the open floor, particularly for Auburn yet on the offensive end. Don Cullen jumps in, says, wondering if Janai has a great night rebounding. Can't wait to see the new forwards. I don't see any reason why Janai shouldn't be able to have a good night rebounding. This isn't a team that has done a great job on the boards versus their competition thus far this season. So this is an opportunity for Auburn to really dominate on the glass. I think Janai it shouldn't have any issues if he stays out of foul trouble. No problems there for him. War Eagle, what's up, JC, says original schedule said ESPNU or ESPN2, but I guess college football took that ESPN Plus now. Yeah, so this game is supposed to be on the app ESPN Plus. So just in case you guys are looking for it, if you don't have a subscription to it, then got to find some other kind of way to watch the game. But definitely is, according to what it says on ESPN, it's supposed to be on ESPN Plus tonight. Ethan Lowry says, I'd like to see Janai actually make his free throws tonight. It'd be nice. Definitely would be nice to see him make his free throws. Listen, he probably needs to shoot somewhere in the range of 70% when we get into the games that are really going to matter. So no time like the present to start a good habit. He's got the free throw stroke. He's got, he's been able to push out and shoot more long range jump shots, including the three. It's just interesting how some of those same mechanics don't translate well to the free throw line. And hopefully he is able to get on point with that, because he becomes, a 20-point per night guy if he's able to do that. But the frequency in which he is fouled, even with the fouls he's not getting called, but if he starts getting all the fouls called that he's actually getting fouled on, then he's going to be going to the free throw line like he's going to be taking 20 attempts per night. But yeah, he could become a 20-point per game guy just with making his free throws consistently with the touches that he gets throughout the normal portions of the offense, but whether it's through the flow of the offense or with his rebounding. Let's see. Don Cullen jumps back in, says, can't wait to get some of that KD energy to get pumped. KD's always going to bring the energy, especially when he's in Neville Arena. He is going to feed off of that crowd. He and Dylan Cardwell are absolutely the emotional engine of this team. Simo provides a lot of that as well. So looking forward to that. A guy who I really want to see. So we're just talking about people who need to get on track, who've come in. We've already talked about Chaney Johnson. And again, hopefully he'll get the opportunity to play some big minutes tonight, because we won't need to go to the first unit as much. We'll get to the second unit. Maybe even some of the walk-ons will get some burn in this one. Talked a little bit about Denver Jones, but really Chad Baker-Mazara is a guy who has been good, not great yet. And I want to see him have a great opportunity out here in this game. Looking forward to seeing him get some quality minutes and really find his footing as well. Staying out of foul trouble. He's been in foul trouble in just about every contest so far. So playing defense without fouling and really getting into a groove and being able to show he can be a 3-level scorer for this team as well, because he definitely has the skills to be able to do it. Let's see. Don jumps back in. Like to see Lior get some time and drop some threes. I definitely think this is a game where you will see Lior Berman be able to get some minutes in this game. Hopefully he'll have an opportunity to really get out there and showcase his skill set. Looking forward to seeing Lior do that. Again, if you guys didn't know, we do have the fireside that includes Lior Berman, Janai Broom, and Cheney Johnson available on the channel. You guys can go and check that out whenever you'd like to. It's right there in our video section. I think it's on the homepage of the YouTube channel. So if you just go there to the War Report homepage, you can see that and hear our conversation with those young men. We've got some more building rapport stuff coming up for you guys really soon, too. So stay tuned to that. Not necessarily fireside, but still building rapport stuff. But be on the lookout for that stuff dropping soon. Let's see here. Knox Cleveland dropping his prediction 94-62 tonight. This sounds about what I would expect it to be. I really want to see a sub 60 game out of these guys, sub 70 game out of these guys tonight defensively. So hopefully this is about the range of where you're going to see things. Let's see here. Don again says the last two games, the guys calling the game loved the name Denver Jones. They did. They said it's a good basketball name. I don't know what's so great about the basketball name Denver Jones, but it definitely has worked for him and garnering some praise from the folks who have been calling the game. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, I'd love to see Broom get that double-double going again tonight. Been scoring good, but kind of getting beat on the boards. Man, in that St. Bonaventure's game, I really did not love what I saw from Janai Broom defensively down in the post and then again on the rebounds. He was okay, not great, but defensively, I think he was getting abused down there. They have some quality big men for that team, but they were having their way for the vast majority of that game. If it had not been for foul trouble, I think that they would have been able to change the complexion of that game slightly. Auburn still wins because I think, Auburn's the more talented team top to bottom, but they were able to get to the post. The problem is that, again, like the Notre Dame game, they just don't have enough guys out there that can do it. And the depth of this team definitely shows when you get to play teams like we are going to play tonight with A&M, teams like Notre Dame, teams like St. Bonaventure's. The depth is really where you get into trouble because the bench is going to come in and they're not going to just keep the lead where it is. They're going to push the lead out a little bit sometimes. So you've really got to be able to continue to score when KD Johnson, Chad Baker-Mazara come into the game, right? Because they're going to continue to push the tempo and score a little bit. And then, with Trey Donaldson now leading the second unit as he has been recently, you find that the defensive intensity is just a little bit different when Trey Donaldson's in the game. He runs the club a little differently. He's not pushing the pace as much as Aiden is, and he's not the same kind of scorer that Aiden is, but he definitely is very efficient in the way that he runs the ball club when he's in the game. And defensively, he's a little more tenacious. So when you have, tenacious defenders like Baker-Mazara and KD Johnson out there with a guy like Trey Donaldson, that second unit can really stifle offenses and stop them from getting going up top. And then you've got the better, in my opinion, paint protector and Dylan Cardwell as the backstop for that second unit. That's a really hard team to get some quality looks against when they're really on their stuff, because the three up top are going to be playing a lot of stuff in the passing lane, and then you're going to have the athleticism on the backside with Cheney and Cardwell. So that's a really tough defensive unit. And again, if Katie and Baker-Mazara are actually scoring in that unit as well, then you're going to find yourself going from, a single digit, maybe low double digit lead out to 16, 17 points with your reserves in there against that unit. That's what makes this Auburn team so tough, is that they can score with both units and they can defend with both units. It's going to look a little different for both of those units. I think the first unit is a little better scoring unit with Janai and Aiden out there and Jay Will out there with that first three, right? And then again, if Denver Jones finds it, that's a team that can average double figures across three, maybe four guys in the starting unit. That's like, even if you're only in low double figures, right? You're talking about 40 to 50 points just off of that unit. And then if you add what you're going to get off of the bench, you're talking about a 70 to 80 point team with everybody only scoring, the lower end of what their potential is. So it's going to be a tough team, especially if one of those guys catches fire at any point in time and you get into 17, 18 points from a couple of guys in those first units. It's a tough team to beat. But again, the issue for this team thus far has been foul trouble, right? Defending without fouling, silly turnovers, just being kind of free and loose with the basketball, and then shot selection every now and then. Shot selection has not been as bad a situation this year, but turnovers, rebounding, and defending without fouling, I think, is the big thing for this team this season so far. If they can figure that stuff out, and as Coach Pearl says, it's really about the effort and energy that you bring, particularly when you're talking about playing quality defense and not reaching and getting into bad posture situations defensively. If you're just concentrated not so much on trying to get steals, but really about being where you need to be positionally, then the defense is going to work itself out and you're going to end up there. Teams that aren't as good are going to they're going to get frustrated and they're going to either start taking bad shots early in the clock or they're going to start making bad passes, which will allow the natural flow of things to happen in your direction. But then from the rebounding standpoint, finishing possessions when you have played a solid shot clock of possession and they get that late clock shot that isn't really a quality shot, but they've got to get it up. Finishing the possession with the rebound is something this team's got to do a little bit better of. Let's see here. Ephesians 2:8 says, will the rule change to the charge blocking call with the rule change, excuse me, to get Denver to drive it hard to the rim? Good free throw shooter, too. This is a thing that I think is important to point out because I do think a lot of players who were more adept in getting to the rim previously or having, tried to learn to change the style of the way. Like he learned to avoid contact in a lot of those situations. If he just goes in there, not necessarily seeking contact, because that's a KD Johnson thing, not necessarily seeking contact, but knowing that if contact comes, they're going to have to be vertical against him, and he's just needs to get to the front of the rim. And he's again tall enough, has the jumping ability to just go in there with the trees and be able to do that, as opposed to trying to lean and get around guys. I think he'll be a lot better off. But that's just something that they've got to get mentally at a different. It's just kind of have to change your mentality of how you're approaching getting to the rim. And I think Denver could definitely do that. I like the way that he has attacked the rim so far this season, but definitely needs to go in there with the mindset of, hey, the charge is not really a thing unless you're completely out of control. Trey Donaldson actually is another person who could work on that, kind of going in there with the mindset of going to score as opposed to going to seek a pass, because I think he gets himself in trouble sometimes dribbling too deep, but looking to pass as opposed to looking to go in there and get buckets when he does, because again, his athleticism is elite. He can go in there and finish strong. So I think he needs to do that a little bit better. Ethan says Chris Moore starting this year reminds me of why Zepp started last year. Good defensive intensity out the gate. Absolutely. Chris Moore is a guy who's not going to, his presence in there is not really about what he provides to you offensively. It is 100% his effort, energy, and defense that he's going to give you. He's going to make the cuts necessary on offense and be where he needs to be. Most times going to make good passes when he's in there. If you leave him open, he can shoot the three and he shoots it at a good clip. But really what you want is his rebounding. What you want is the intensity, like really just like the purposeful way that he moves without the basketball on offense. And then defensively, he's going to be getting up in the guy's paws and making sure that he's being where he needs to be on the defensive side. He can handle smaller guards with the way that he moves his feet. He can also switch out onto bigs because he's strong and he doesn't mind the physicality that's going to happen. So Chris Moore just kind of provides you a different kind of edge that you need defensively, particularly in that first unit where, if we're being honest, Jay Will, not that kind of guy, right? He's athletically the same kind of guy, but mentally not the same kind of guy. And then you have, guys like, Denver Jones, who's really, he's finding his footing in that sort of philosophy. So he's still working his way into that. And then your other guard right now being Aiden, who's smaller and just physically not in that same place. So he allows you to be a little bit more multiple. And a lot of the switching that we do right now is because a guy like Chris Moore is so versatile and able to defend, from 5'11" on up to 6'7", right? He can defend that wide range of people out on the perimeter. Or if you have to switch down low for some reason, he can at least bother some of those bigger folks and make them have to work harder to go and get those points down below. So you need guys like Chris Moore. He's a guy that I would consider to be a glue guy for this team to play well and be in there and just impacting the game in ways that may not show up on the stat sheet. So I love what Chris Moore brings to the game and looking forward to seeing how he progresses this team. Let's see here. All right, y'all. We are about 10 minutes from the scheduled tip on this game. Hopefully, everyone has found a way that they're going to watch the game, and we'll get in here and get engaged. If you guys didn't know, of course, I'm going to be out here trying to tweet during the game. My @ handle is right there. Boom, right there. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like to see my thoughts during the game. This game starts at 7, probably over with in the 9 o'clock hour, but maybe dipping into 10 o'clock. Not really sure whether or not I'll be doing any sort of post game stuff. But if it does happen, I will let you guys know on Twitter. But I am going to go ahead and get out of here so I can get myself settled in and watching the game. Hopefully, we are looking forward to a stress-free night here of Auburn basketball. If you didn't already, go ahead and give me the thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new out here. We appreciate everybody who continues to do that. And we'll be back at you guys tomorrow morning with another morning drop, talking a little bit more about the upcoming Iron Bowl. But that's it, man. I'm out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.